Hi, my name is Adrian William, and currently I'm a practicing dentist in the United States. And today I'm going to talk to you why dentistry in US is a very toxic profession, why it's becoming this way, and most importantly, how as a dental student or a dentist in coming future you can protect yourself, you can find ways to improve your lifestyle and have a better performance overall as a dental practitioner. So before I go into the concept of why dentistry is becoming so much toxic, you need to understand about 20, 25 years ago, dentistry in US was a very easygoing profession. People would become a dentist, go open their clinic, work 4 days a week, take vacations, make money, invest it, and then retire. And it was a very simple, easygoing, straightforward thing. But about 20 to 25 years ago, there were equity firms. Equity firms are people, businesses who are behind these banks, behind SP 500, big stock markets, all the people with a lot of money who are running US and even running businesses outside of US. So these equity firms, like these big giants with a lot of money, figured out that we need to go into healthcare and make it a business. And they did. And after that, they kept their eye on dentistry and they were like, these dentists are too stupid, too lazy. They don't know how to squeeze the juice and make a lot of money. We will go in and do it for them. And that's what happened. About 20, 25 years approximately that time, these equity firm, big business people came into dentistry. They started to buy out these practices and they gave a lot of money to these retiring dentists and bought their like $300,000 practice for $3 million and said, give it to us and we'll show you how to run it. And once they took over, they made most of the dentistry into how you would see supply and chain Walmart. One thing I'll tell you about US has a very deep love. Like Pakistan has a lot of love for warriors like Tipu Sultan or things like that. US has a very deep love for Henry Ford. Henry Ford was a guy who invented not just the car Ford that you see, but he invented the concept of assembly line. So assembly line is same what you see in McDonald's. There's an oven going on, or at a pizza place you will see there's an oven going on. They put one burger or a pizza, it goes through the oven, comes out, they put some topping, put a ketchup, put it in the box and hand it to you in 5 minutes. And that's what a supply chain is. And Henry Ford did it in cars and he made cars really fast and he made it available to most American. And it changed or revolutionized the business system in US. And after that, every business in US wants to have assembly lines. And if you go to Walmart, if you look at Amazon, you order something, they want to give it to you right away, make it quick like a fast food. Now, the struggle is going on to make dentistry the same way, which they are. And because of that, it's less about people, it's less about health, it's less about teeth, it's more about production, more about numbers, and it's more about making money and profit. And I personally reach a point where I'm fine with it. Okay, I want to make money, I want to make profit, but I don't, as a dentist or as a practitioner or as a healthcare worker, there are certain lines I wouldn't cross. There are certain things I won't budge on. When it comes to my patient's well-being, I'm the one who's going to make the decision because my license is on stake. So you need to understand most of the toxicity that even students in dental school faces because you're being told to do something that makes no concept to your brain and your body starts to react to it. It's like an internal fight that would start to happen. And by the end of the day, when it comes to dentistry or people who graduate and come out, I tell them all the time, remember, it's a business. It's not about what you feel or what you want. In the early start, when you're going to come out of dental school as a fresh graduate, you've been broke, you've been poor for so long, you're coming from an area of scarcity. For example, when I graduated from University of Colorado and came and started working, I was in a lot of debt. So all you think about, all you want is money. You want to come out, you want to make money, you want to have some money in your bank account so you can feel a little bit relief. That's a scarcity mindset. So you're desperate. And what most organizations, most private practices, or most DSOs would do, they would prey on your hunger, on your scarcity mindset. It's a profession, they say, which eat up its own young ones. So when young people come out, they are naive, they are hungry. So these companies or these practices would hire you and show you a lot of money, and some of them even give you a lot of money. But they will make, if they are giving you 300,000 or 400,000, they're gonna make you work for 1 million. So you generate them 1 million, and out of that they might give you $200,000-300,000 of money, and out of that you pay a lot of taxes. So that's a whole different thing. But once you come out and you see that, about after 6-7 months you realize, okay, I was hungry, I wanted money, now my bank account is filling, but why am I working so much? Why does my body hurt? And I'm not going to tell you go just lift weights or do yoga or get a massage. Yeah, you can do that, it will help you, but you need to understand that the toxicity that you're feeling, or why are your colleagues, your staff is so much bitter and angry all the time, is coming from the aspect because you are being pushed to work a lot. Your work-life balance is not healthy. You're working more than 4 days. Your physical capacity is burning out. Your sensory system is burning out, because one of the reason dentistry feels toxic or feels like a burnout, because as a human, you're working in a window of this much. The oral cavity is very small. So you're working in a keyhole and you're using your loop. If you're somebody who's 6 foot or bigger and you're broad, you're actually working in a very small area. And I personally say, as a big guy, my body was never made to work through keyholes. Maybe my body was to climb a tree or be in some physical activity where you're looking up and you're doing that. So because hunting or something like that, because as evolutionary perspective, we weren't dentists. We weren't working with small things. We were doing bigger things where our arms were open. And when we start to do minute things like dentistry and bending over and looking through loops, it start to take a toll on you. If you're young, you won't understand this, but as you gradually grow in dentistry in US, you're looking at 20, 30 patients a day. And you're like, one day is like working 7 days how I used to work in Pakistan. Like, there's so much things that you have to do really fast. When I was in Pakistan, I would have never thought I can work so much in one day. But now I do it because it's part of dentistry, right? That's how dentistry in US is. That's how the economy is. That's how the system is. So that also adds a lot of stress on you. Along with that, I personally feel we as people who, like, when we are student in the school, we want to get good GPA, we want to learn molar endo, we want to do it in the right way, we want to do extractions, we want to do implants, and we are pursuing, like, we have this sense of perfectionism. And especially people who are gunners, who got really good GPA, who are the teacher's pet, they have very high thoughts about dentistry and how it should be done. And when they come to the real world, nothing is like that. Nobody cares how good your root canal is. All they want is that you complete your patients and you complete the code and you walk out. And that's where it creates stress on your body. One thing you need to understand as early as possible, understand the bigger system. It's not about what's the quality of your endo or the quality of your restoration. Most corporate or most busy practices just wants you to see the patient really fast and get it done. And I tell people, when you're graduating, one thing you need to understand is you need to understand about the business aspect, the managerial aspect as early as possible. Because once you start to do that, you can actually look into the eyes of these managers or these administrative people or your senior doctor and negotiate with them. One thing I was discussing with a friend who's a businessman, and he was talking to me about extraction, and I was telling him, like, when it comes to pulling out a teeth or extracting using an elevator, it's all about your leverage. You take leverage, you make a purchase point, and you extract. And he said, well, isn't it in any business? It's all about leverage. When it comes to negotiation, when it comes to bargaining, you need to have leverages. I personally feel Harvey Specter, the show Suits, is a very good show. You should watch it. By the end of the day, when it comes to business world, when it comes to anything, You need to know how to negotiate. Like if your doctor is pushing you to do more endo or to do more implants or see more patients, if you're going to say no to that person, and if he doesn't agree with you, what are you going to do? Do you have a backup plan? Can you leave that job? Or did you take a big sign-up bonus and spent it, and now you can't quit that job, and it's taking a toll on your body and your psychological health? And you need to think about these things even before you say no. If I'm talking to somebody in a business deal or in a professional aspect, and they tell me something, in my head I'm thinking, if I say no and this person stand up for it or put up a fight, what weapons do I have in my arsenal? Can I back off? Can I give a resign? Can I say, if you don't agree with me, I'm not going to work for you, or I'm not going to do the work that you want me to do? So in your head, remember, it's a game of chess. Sometimes you lose on purpose. You lose a match to win a tournament. It's fine. I will give in to what you're saying. I have to do what you're saying for now. But in 6 months, I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to change the whole game. And I'm the one who's going to be making the decision. And that's all you need to. This is something you need to start thinking about as early as possible. Most of the immigrants who come out, they are dependent on their visa, and they start working in places where they are working for their green card and they get abused. And I do understand that. Maybe you need to figure out early on during your negotiation, tell them I'm going to work 4 days. I have kids. I have some medical concerns. I have something I have to do at my temple, at my mosque, at my church. I can't do it. I'm just going to work 4 days. If you can work with me, it's fine. So these are some of the things that you should work on early on, because by the end of the day, even if it's your best friend, it's your uncle, whoever you're doing business with, when it comes to money, there will be toxicity. One thing I can tell you, any industry which has more money involved in it, the more toxic it will get, whether it's Hollywood, Bollywood, whether it's dentistry, healthcare, any business, real estate. When money stakes are high, everybody becomes a jerk. And if you can't act out to be a jerk, you will end up as a victim. And I'm telling you for sure, you need to learn how to defend yourself and your family and your own well-being. If you won't, some other people will take benefit of yours. And my biggest problem was that in dentist school, they on purposely don't talk about these things. They don't discuss these things. They don't let any faculty tell you about these things. And they make you naive, make you keep thinking about centric occlusion, and they keep making you think about impressions and all that stuff, and don't tell you that when you will go out, nobody will care about it, and all they care about is how to abuse you. And it was very frustrating for me. That's why I'm making this video, that somebody needs to at least speak honestly what's going on and how you can at least overcome it. So remember, the concept of leverage in any negotiation is very important. If you feel like this person is not keeping up with their deal, one thing I'll say, your contract, make sure if you can afford, get it read by a lawyer, by an attorney. Make sure they don't put in any clause that can work against you. Some places would have, if you're going to leave, you need to have 90 days of notice. I would suggest fight to make it 60. You don't have to wait till 90 days. That's a very long period. See if there's anything and talk to people, discuss it. Is this how the market is working, or is this contract more biased? Are they benefiting from me? And you want to have that legally checked. That will help you. Second thing is, if in a month or two you feel like this person is not keeping up with their words or their contract, start thinking about backup plans. You can only go to war if you prepared for it in the time of peace. As soon as you see this person is not going to keep up their words, have some backup plans. That will give you some room to negotiate with toxic people. And one thing I'll tell you, that when we are an employee, we think every boss or employer is a toxic person. And there will come a time when you will become a boss. and you will be on the other side of the table. And that's when you realize that this is how the industry works. You're not being toxic, that's just the norm of it. And this kid who's coming right out of school is coming out of Disneyland and doesn't understand. So I personally feel I don't like the systems, but when it comes to individual, I want to give them the benefit of doubt. It's fine. You are just being a jerk to me because you're also under pressure. There's somebody sitting on top of you or the banking system that's pushing you to work so hard or make other people work hard too. And it's fine. I'm not against you. Maybe I don't like the system. I don't like the culture. And now I have to find a way out to find my own freedom. One thing I'll tell you in US, one way to buy some freedom for yourself is never rely on one source of income. As soon as you can create different channels to get some income, even if some smaller business or investment can give you $500 or $200 a month, invest in it, create it. So over time, in a year or 2 years, it gets bigger and bigger. So you're not always relying on one thing. Otherwise, you will become slave to that thing. And one other thing I tell people when it comes to professional thing or personal thing, never take people for their words. Mostly, yes, you need to be forgiving. You need to have a big heart. But just because somebody's saying I'm gonna be good, I don't buy it. I'm just gonna look at your actions. I'm gonna work with you. I'm gonna give you some time and just look at you. I heard this, that if you want to just see somebody's character, either stay with them when they are hungry or travel with them in a journey. That's when you get to see their real self. And I think never buy people for their words. Just see them. It's their fruits, it's their actions that will show what kind of soul they have, what kind of spirit they have. So the fruit of the spirit is what will show the reality of this person. Along with that, I always say this in all my video when it comes to burnout, toxicity. I know people, a lot of dentists, they will end up drinking alcohol, they will end up taking drugs. I would say from day one, don't be dependent on this crap. Like, stay away, take some days off, go for vacation, go for yoga, go for massages, whatever gets you a little bit better without being involved in any negative activities. Because once you start going down that road, it's not stopping. I've seen so many people indulging in alcoholism and ended up in bigger problem. You don't want to do that. Maybe some people start taking ibuprofen or any painkillers, and then they continue to take it and they become dependent on it. So you wanna try your best to stay away. One other thing I personally feel, in Islam, there's a concept of risk. And I think most of religions or deeper philosophies talk about that your wealth is not just your money. It's your health, it's your connections, your well-being, your social aspect, it's the money, and it's an overall dynamic, and your spiritual aspect as well. So the combination of these four things actually make you a wealthy person, a wealthy man or a wealthy woman. Just because I have like 3 million in my account doesn't make me rich. I might have high sugar levels and cholesterol and can't even walk now, and I can't sleep and all of this stress, and I think I'm rich. Well, I'm not rich because I have given up my health to get this piece of paper. Now, this is where I tell people is that, and I personally have to fight it too, like there are years or seasons where I would be working a lot just trying to make more money, but then I look back and see how much I sacrifice on my health. And was it worth it? Sometimes it is, because when you're in deep waters, you want to swim as fast as possible to get out. You just made a deal and you have to do it, which is fine. But as soon as you get some breath, you wanna live in a three-dimensional manner. A lot of dentists just look at things, oh, I want to work a lot, I want to make a lot of money. Well, look at your health, look at your well-being, look at your overall, what's the 50 years old Adriel will look back and say. There were time in US where I did jobs where I had to do night duty or something that was called graveyard shift. And now when I look back, that would be one thing I don't want to do again, because it really takes a toll on you. The money was not worth it. So negotiate with your own self and look at your wealth in a three-dimensional manner. The other thing I will say is a lot of time, increasing your skill level over time can actually save you from manipulation. If you can get, one thing I've learned is over time, if you can do impacted wisdom, if you can do molar endos, if you got a sedation license, if you can do implants, you can actually negotiate more. And I know when we come out of school, we don't know crap and we have to learn all these skills. In the start, yes, we are getting manipulated, but if you're earning money, use it for CE courses. Go get training as much as you can. Throw in 50, 60, 70,000 in your first year. Trust me, you won't regret it. I've done it. I've invested a lot in CE courses. I am still doing it. But trust me, that gives me a lot of negotiating power and people take you seriously. So you're not somebody who's just doing bread and butter dentistry. People start to take you seriously because they see this person has spent a lot of money and time in training himself and we need to treat him seriously. So that's one area I would definitely suggest you can increase your skill in the area that you like so you can negotiate better and you push away people's toxicity so they can't dump it on you. The other thing I can say, if you're somebody, if you can buy your own practice, maybe first years, I've known people who came out of school, like local conventional DDS student who came out, had the guts to buy a practice right away when they didn't knew much. They just went in and down the line after 10 years, they are doing pretty good. I've seen people buy it out after 4 years, 5 years, but as soon as your resources, your visa, your situation allows you, jump into it. Trust me, it's most people, my research from talking to people, they said it's really tough. It drains your life for the first few years, but eventually it buys you far more freedom than anything else. So if you want to decrease toxicity, create your own paradise. There is no savior coming from you. You have to be your own hero by the end of the day. And this, obviously, there are pros and cons to it. You don't just want to jump because Adriel said it, but think about it. The other thing I'll say is that be consistent and don't take people's judgment or these toxic environment personally. If somebody is being a jerk to you, don't take it personally. It's the system. This person is also a victim of the system. If you start taking it personally, you're going to end up just like that person. I'm telling you, if you're watching this video about in 5 years, 7 years, maybe I'll meet you or something like that. You might be a business owner. You might be a practice owner. You might be somewhere higher up in the ladder. And you might be more toxic than most people that you have met because the system made you toxic, or you're seeking revenge from people who did bad to you and you ended up just being like them. So you want to be consistent in your work. You want to be informed. You want to know how to fight back toxicity at work, but you also want to be a childlike in your heart. By the end of the day, make money, be fruitful, be productive, but also know that the kingdom of heaven belongs to people who have a heart like child. I wish I had one, but that's something I aspire to, is to maybe by the end of the day, these all tactics and schemes and reading books and psychology, by the end of the day, I have my plan and then there's God's plan. And you have to understand that our wisdom or our thoughts are limited. So remember, by the end of the day, you want to be forgiving. You want to be tough, but you also want to be forgiving. And when it comes to your time, you want to be a better person than the people you met on your journey. And I hope you like this video. Do kindly share this video, please, because it might help somebody else and it helps me as well. I don't follow a lot of algorithms. My videos don't get a lot of view most of the time because I don't follow algorithms. There's too much time, effort. I don't have time to put into that crap. But I rely on people like you. If you think this video is adding value to your life, hit the like button, write in the comment box, kindly share it, and hopefully I'll see you in a more meaningful video. Thank you.